Heidi, your adopted PE teacher. I'm here today with my own kids, my daughter.
Hi, my name is Hope.
And my son, Ryan. And we're going to talk to you today about some basic catching skills that you can work on at home with your child. So the first thing that I've done is I've used some painter's tape to make an X on the floor so that my child knows where to stand when we're working on catching the ball. So Ryan is going to go ahead and stand on that blue X for me. We're going to talk a little bit about equipment. So you can use whatever you have at home. I happen to have a foam ball here. The larger the ball, the better. Not too large, but about 8.5 inches is ideal. But we want something that's lightweight. When we're working with equipment, the two most important things to adapt our equipment are size and weight. So we don't want a ball that's too small, and we also don't want a ball that's too heavy. A lightweight ball that's about 8 to 8.5 inches is going to be optimal. If you don't have that at home, absolutely, you can use what you have, and we're going to show you how to do some of the same catching skills with the stuffed animal as well. So after the equipment, we want to talk about form, and we're going to talk about distance. So I'm going to talk to Ryan about making sure that he has his hands ready and that he's looking at the ball. We've seen a lot of videos about eyes on the ball. Kids don't always understand that, so if you just tell them to look at the ball, that usually helps. And then if they do have trouble focusing on the ball, oftentimes I'll just put a sticker on it, and that helps them focus because they'll look at the sticker while they're catching the ball. And as far as distance goes, you can look at your child's goal and see most children have a goal of 5 feet, but when you're just beginning practicing your catching, you want to start about 2 to 3 feet apart from your child. So we're going to start about 2.5 to 3 feet apart, and Ryan's going to catch the ball. I'm tossing it to him underhand because I want him to be able to catch it. We're working on catching skills. So, but when he throws it back to me, I'm going to encourage him to lift it up over his head and throw it back to me using an overhand motion. So go ahead and throw the ball back to me. Easy throw. Good job. And again, I'm going to throw it to him underhand. And as they warm up, you can also move backwards. So you can get to that 4 to 5 feet as they get comfortable practicing the skill. So he's going to, and he's also what we call trapping the ball. And that's what we see as developmentally appropriate with our preschoolers. We don't expect them to catch it with their hands only yet. Developmentally, 3 to 4-year-olds are still using their arms and their hands to trap the ball. And that's what we want to see. Obviously, if they're already catching the ball using their hands only, that's okay. They might be above their developmental level for that skill. So now that we've shown you using the ball to catch, we're going to use the stuffed animal. So Ryan, why don't you go ahead and come over here, and Hope, go ahead and stand on that X, and we're going to practice using a medium-sized stuffed animal. So same thing, she's going to throw it to me using an overhead motion, and I'm going to throw it to her using an underhand motion. You can also work on underhand throwing, but most of my students, we're working on overhand throwing or overhead throwing, and we'll talk more about throwing in a throwing video. But when they have to throw the ball using an overhead motion, they also have to stabilize their body. They have to be able to balance their body and use their core to be able to throw this way. So now that we've talked about just throwing the ball, we're going to talk about catching a bounced ball. Many of my students do have goals where they need to catch a bounced ball, and it's a ball that's bounced to them just one time. Now this, unfortunately, you can't really do with a stuffed animal, but if you do have a playground ball, they do bounce the best, and it is okay to use a playground ball if that's all that you have. So I'm just going to bounce it to her one time, and she's going to catch it, and then she's going to bounce it back to me, and then one more time, just one bounce. And if they're having trouble catching it, you can come a little closer and help them catch the ball as it comes up. The next thing we're going to talk about is bouncing and catching. Some students do have a bounce catch goal, and I put this extra line with painter's tape on the ground so she has a visual indicator of where to bounce the ball. She needs to bounce the ball right in front of her toes. So she's going to bounce it and then catch it on the rebound. And if they have difficulty catching it on the rebound, by all means, help them catch it. So let's do one more time. Excellent. So those are some easy throwing and catching skills that you can work on at home, mainly focusing on the eye-hand coordination of the catching and hopefully utilizing whatever equipment you have.